I don't know about you, Lizelle, but I would think that women don't always realize the inner conversations that they have with themselves. Things like limiting beliefs that they have conveyed in their wardrobe. So, for instance, I think you and I had the conversation that sometimes we default to black and white because we don't feel confident enough to show up in a color. But once we realize that that color actually amplifies my authentic identity, it becomes much less of a rule book and much more of an expression of your true inner self.
Absolutely. I've seen this so many times when I coach women that they commonly struggle with mostly limiting beliefs. And it has a lot to do with socialization, the messages that young girls receive growing up in terms of assertive behavior and standing up for yourself and standing in your authenticity. And even my own story, that was something that I struggled with as a young girl, where I didn't really develop a strong identity as a woman. And going through the process with you, I really discovered my true identity and realized that my wardrobe actually reflected a lot of my own limitations that I placed on my identity.
I think the world approaches style from the outside in. We believe the approach should be from the inside out because we believe your inner reality shapes your outward reflection, and it can only really be a true, authentic reflection once the inner beliefs are aligned with the outward reflection.
Yes, it's all about alignment because subconsciously, what happens on your inside reflects on your outside. Often women would stand in front of their wardrobe and not know what to wear, but they have a full cupboard of clothes. And that has to do with identity, not with clothing.
Yes, and we tend to address it from a perspective of clothing, and the world addresses it from that perspective of I need new clothing. But we never reassess and recalibrate who am I and what does this version of me look like in this season of my life.
Petri, you know my story because I have shared it with you. And I was that woman who felt invisible in rooms that I needed to stand up for myself. And I went through a whole transformation on my inside over a long period of time where I had to redefine my identity in terms of who I am, what I'm capable of, what my values are, and what my strengths are. And the more I got to know myself, the stronger I could stand in my identity. But there was a missing link. And the link was when we combined our strengths, and I realized that there's an outer transformation that has to go with the inner transformation. It's really about affirming the shift that has happened on your inside. And the feeling of being invisible vanished because all of a sudden I started receiving compliments, people take me more seriously. And I think it has to do with the fact that what I realized on my inside is now reflected on my outside. It created a very confident woman that can stand up for who she really is.
That's beautiful, Lizelle, and I think that answers the question so perfectly. I think my ultimate outcome for this workshop would be for women to experience the same. That styling becomes a powerful act of affirming your authenticity, and sometimes you just need the right knowledge and tools, and that's what we hope to equip the women with in this workshop. That it's not out of a place of unrest or feeling you need to be this image of perfection, but truly aligning your inside with who you already are.
When a woman really steps into her authority as a leader, and I think we have to remember that leadership does not have anything to do with position. We are all leaders, irrespective of where we find ourselves in the workplace. You will have a much more purpose-driven life once you stand in your authenticity and vulnerability and you can openly convey that to others. A woman who sticks into her leadership, understands her purpose, and every day chooses to live her purpose intentionally.
Well, I believe our program is kind of like a blueprint. And the first steps that we usually start with is that inward assessment, discovering who you are and how that looks and translates into style. So it's not about fitting the mold of the latest fashion trends. It's about discovering what is your natural preferences, your natural inclinations toward things that you like, smells, touches, feel, or your senses being engaged. It's about discovering what naturally appeals to you and just getting acquainted with yourself again in that sense. What do I like and what don't I like? And what makes me me? And starting from that inner journey, creating a perfectly authentic outward reflection.
Yes. Being stuck actually means not knowing myself. That's where many women struggle because we have so many roles that we have to fulfill that we lose ourselves in those relationships and responsibilities. This workshop will help you anchor yourself in your true identity. And these anchors are called values. We do an assessment in terms of who you naturally are in terms of your style identity, and then aligning that with your purpose.
I would think that you are worthy of discovering your full potential. You owe it to yourself to show up as the best version of yourself. And that requires some deep delving and a process of vulnerability, as Lizelle mentioned, and discovery. And sometimes we are our own biggest enemies and we hold ourselves back from that discovery because change seems daunting. But I would like to invite every woman to take that step of boldness and invest in yourself, because I think the greatest investment you can make is in yourself, because from an empty cup, we cannot overflow. You need to be full to overflow.
Authenticity can be hard and scary. I think we sit with a lot of shame in terms of our past experiences and the hurtful things we experienced. Looking at yourself in the mirror and knowing who you really are is where the spark and the magic lies.